One of the optimal ways of creating repeated geometry is using the patterning commands in Xdesign. The linear pattern command takes the features or geometry you select and replicates it in an axial direction. This can be done for up to 2 directions, where the angle between the 2 directions is determined by the selections that are made. The circular pattern command takes the features or geometry and replicates it around an axis in a circular direction. This can be done in 2 directions from the original instance, and the angle it spans can be set to a specific value. The mirror command is a little different in that it replicates geometry across a plane, but is flipped in the process. This makes the features symmetric about the selected plane. One of the biggest advantages of creating these patterns is that updating the original instance will cause all the replicated instances to update as well. This makes it simple to make an adjustment to a single feature in the model, which updates the entire design. The first step toward creating a pattern is making sure that all the features you want to pattern are created first. This microphone housing piece currently doesn't have any slotted cuts in the sidewalls. I want to create a series of 4 cutouts aligned vertically with one another, and then I want this series of cutouts to be patterned 6 times around the housing. In this video, I'll be focusing on just creating a single column of cutouts, and in the next video I'll show you how to pattern them around the circumference of the housing. The first feature I want to be patterned is the cutout itself. I'll use this slot sketch here to create an extruded cut. I'll enable the command, select the sketch profile, make sure it's set to cut, and that it goes all the way through in one direction, and click OK. I also want the front edge of the cutout to have a small filleted edge, so it's not sharp. I'll enable the fillet command, click on the front edge, make sure it's set to a radius value of 2.5 millimeters, and click OK. Now that I have all the features that I want to pattern, I'll create the first column of cutouts. To do this, I'll be using the linear pattern command. This can be found in the Features tab of the action bar shown here. This menu also includes the circular pattern command, which I'll show you in the next video. With linear pattern enabled, the first step is to select the features to be patterned. There's also a body selection option available here, which allows you to pattern bodies in the design. Simply click here to enable it. In this design, I'm simply patterning features, so I'll disable it once again. I'll graphically click on a face of the cutout, as well as the filleted edge. This will pattern them both at the same time, as shown by the highlighted edges of the features. The next step is to select a direction to pattern. In this case, I want them patterning downward in a vertical direction. There are a few ways to set this direction. I can either select a line from a sketch or use an existing edge in the model. I can select one of the default axes that automatically appears at the origin. I can select a plane and the direction will be set normal to that plane. Or I can choose a cylindrical face and the direction will be set as the axis of that cylinder. From here, I'll set the spacing, which is the distance between the centers of the features being patterned. For this design, I'll set the spacing to 30 millimeters, which I'll increase by spinning the scroll wheel on the mouse, and make sure to check the direction by clicking the reverse direction button here. The number of instances sets how many total instances of the original geometry will be included in the pattern. Setting it to 2 means that the original is kept and 1 additional is created. If I want 4 total instances, I simply change the number to 4. I want to point out this checkbox here for equal spacing. What this does is equally pattern the instances across the face based on the geometry. If I check it, notice how the instances are equally spaced from one another and have the same margin at the top and bottom on this cylindrical face. So if I change the number of instances to 5, the margins are kept the same and the instances are equally spaced from one another. I still want to use only 4 instances for now, so I'll decrease it by 1. Before I click OK, I want to mention the Direction To area of this dialog box. In the linear pattern command, the original geometry can be patterned in 2 linear directions. They don't have to be at 90 degrees from one another, but are simply determined by the second direction that's chosen. This can create a lot of unique and useful pattern geometry, depending on the angle you want to use. Now that I'm showing a preview of a pattern in 2 directions, I'll increase the instances in the second direction to a total of 3. Notice at the top of the dialog box that there's a few options made available: Array, Perimeter, and Primary. These are patterning options where the array patterns the geometry in a full grid. Perimeter only patterns the original instance around the sides of the grid, and Primary only patterns the original instance along 2 edges of the grid, extending out directly from where the original is located. For now, I'm not going to only pattern in one direction, so I'll click the X for the second direction to only pattern in one direction. With all the settings in place, I'll click OK, and the row of cutouts is created. In the next video, I'll show you how to use the circular pattern command to rotate this line of cutouts around the sides of the cylindrical face.